Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys in Africa. You know we love the Big C tribe, so no more hate mail for the new year. We love you in Canada. But Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south, in the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys?
Charlton, we're getting ready to party like it's 1999 down here this weekend. You know, we got the National Championship, we got the Falcons in the playoffs, we got the Panthers in the playoffs, we got the Saints in the playoffs. You know, what better life could it be than an all-Southern party?
We know you good old boys in your Southern party. I was reading in one of the Southern newspapers that I read, Big C, there's actually a shortage of moonshine of all days on January the 5th, 2018, Big C. Would you have any idea why the shortage of moonshine, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's used for marinating and other things, medicinal purposes, and also just to relax.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are being too relaxed, Big C, but you're right. It is a great day in the world of sports. I believe of the Northeast we have these freezing rains, and a lot of the people are having a hard time. I think Boston, they were expecting some flooding in the city of Boston, so I know that it's going to affect the hockey and also the basketball around there. The Patriots don't have to worry about that this weekend, Big C, but I know there's a lot of rain going on all over the Northeast and snow, and I hope a lot of people are safe. I do want to say today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, out here in the West Coast, you know, we talk so much about the changes that happen in the world of sports, and the fact that I'm happy for anyone who gets a contract. But when I look at some of the coaches and the contracts they're getting, I don't know what's the measure to justify John Gruden, $100 million deal over 10 years. If you look at his record, you know, things that people can say, you can Google, his record is only 95-81, okay? And he's only 5-4 in the playoffs. That's barely above 500. $100 million. So if you look at Don Shula or John Madden or Bill Walsh when they coach, how do they justify that Gruden's getting $100 million and he hasn't coached in a decade? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, Davis can't even justify giving Gruden $100 million. You got to look at his last 3 years of his coaching tenure when he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and look at that losing record that he had. That's the reason why he got fired.
Yeah.
If he was such a great coach, he would always been on the hot seat as far as leaving the broadcast booth and going there. People would have offered him more money than what he was making broadcasting.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is a move of desperation with the Raiders. That they're trying to find something to galvanize and you know, electrify their new fan base that they expected to have in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I don't see that a John Gruden, because, you know, he holds the Gruden quarterback camp on ESPN. You know, he does Monday Night Football.
That's worth $100 million.
You know, you haven't told me anything that's going to make me believe that he's going to all of a sudden become a great coach. I mean, I look at the contracts that he got for 10 years and what Jimbo Fisher got for 10 years. I mean, that's $175 million between two head coaches on the college and professional level, Charlton. I mean, and both of them have won championships in the past, so you got to give them credence for that.
Yeah.
But what they did, Charlton, was outprice the coaching game.
Yeah.
When you look at what they've gotten. Because now, how do you tell coaches that win that they're not worth the money when they can say, hey, you know, the guy over there with the 500 record is getting $10 million, and I've been in the playoffs 8 straight years. I won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, and he's getting $10 million. So how do you justify that? You know, there's always an imbalance in sports. You know, we talk about your cousin playing quarterback in Washington.
He's not my cousin. I'll take his paychecks, though, Big Z. I will definitely take his paycheck, Big Z.
And so when you look at that, how do you justify paying that guy $50 million over 2 years?
Yeah.
And he's a sub-500 quarterback.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is what you're getting down the coaching ranks. You get coaches that are sub-500 on their record, and that's what Gruden was in the last 3 years of his coaching tenure with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a sub-500 coach. But all of a sudden, because he's become an American darling because he was on the NFL Monday night, which is a reality show.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Trump became president sitting on a reality show.
That's
so,
true.
You know, so I mean, that's basically the same type of comparison that you get. Because you're going to tell me, just because you talk football,
Yeah.
that's a big difference in being out there physically and mentally every day.
Yeah.
Dealing with that grind. The emotion of sitting in a broadcast booth, and I've done it, you know, it's easy.
Yeah.
You have separation.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with some player turning around, not being threatened by you.
Yeah.
Because of his contract. And knowing that the general manager can't cut him because you're mad at him.
Yeah, well,
It's a big
yeah.
difference. You can't criticize players like you do from the broadcast booth, you know, in their face anymore.
Yeah, well, you think about Reggie McKenzie right now running things over in Oakland. I guess he got a vote of confidence, but John Gruden is going to be the guy that can oversee everything because that's the way Mark Davis wants that. So even McKenzie, you know, whether you're friends or not, when it comes to coaching, I'm sure as far as Jack Del Rio, he may have had some friends in the organization too. But, and again, if Gruden could get that kind of money, go ahead and get the money. I think the only coach that sat out over a decade and came back and won was Dick Vermeil when he won a Super Bowl with the Rams. But even with that, he had Kurt Warner. He had, you know, Bruce at receiving. They had Falk in the backfield. They had a lot of things in play when the Rams went on that win streak. And I'll never forget how they recall the fastest show on turf with the Rams. Yeah.
Dick Vermeil didn't make the right decision as a head coach. Trust me, he fell into what he got.
Yeah.
Trent Green was the starting quarterback that Dick Vermeil went out and made a trade for.
Yeah.
From the Washington Redskins. Trent Green was with the Washington Redskins. He made a trade for Trent Green.
Yeah.
Trent Green hurt himself. And all of a sudden, Kurt Warner, this guy who was, you know, it just really brought him in for training camp.
Yeah.
Out of the Arena Football League. He had no high aspirations for Kurt Warner.
No.
Kurt Warner played sandlot football in the NFL. That's why it was the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
He threw the ball like he would throw it in the Arena League.
Yeah.
Within 3 seconds, the ball was out of his hand.
Yeah.
Trent Green got injured, and that made Dick Vermeil a great coach. He got to be a great coach by luck. And not by default, but by luck.
Well, yeah. Isn't that something similar to what...
He made the wrong decision picking Trent Green as the starting quarterback.
In the first
and
place.
His decision failed, and the guy he didn't want made him look like a genius.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you a question now. They're bringing in Rich Gannon to run to be the quarterback's coach for the Oakland Raiders, and they're going to announce all this stuff coming up. I guess by Tuesday it's going to be official that Gruden's going to be, you know, given the contract for the 10-year, $100 million. I guess they couldn't get him for $99 million. Big C, he needs that extra $1 million. You know, it's pretty expensive to live in the Bay Area, but they're going to Las Vegas. Imagine getting this money in Nevada. The tax base is different. So that's one of the reasons the Raiders are also going to Las Vegas. It's not because they're getting, I mean, part of it, yeah, they're getting a $2 billion, and who would turn down $2 billion unless you have way too much moonshine, Big C? But also when you have your corporation domiciled in Nevada, the tax purposes are a lot more beneficial, according to Donald Trump and them good old boys. But I want to ask you this question. There's some, you know, Gannon's the last one to take the Raiders to the Super Bowl as a quarterback. And a lot of people say he was just all business, right? And when I think about it, it wasn't Gruden that led them down there. They had Gruden had gone on to Tampa Bay and took over Tony Dungy's team. Callahan did that. So what is Carr going to learn from having a quarterback in Gannon that's been in the press box over the last decade or so, as opposed to working with young quarterbacks? Big C, that make any sense at all? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Charlton, everybody is coming from the press box because they've had an opportunity to serve.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's giving them a different insight. I look at Rich Gannon in total. You know, he was a quarterback out of Delaware State, same school that produced Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. He was a journeyman in the NFL. He spent 15 years with the Vikings, the Chiefs, and the Raiders.
Yeah.
His most success came with the Raiders, you know, when he did get them to the Super Bowl. And that was under Bill Callahan, who was an offensive-minded coach. He didn't get there under John Gruden. So, you know, when you look at that, and Gannon was a guy who wasn't brought in the Raiders to be a starter. He has to become a starter by injuries also. You know, that's been one of the things that have happened to a lot of quarterbacks that have made it to the Super Bowl. They got there because the other guy in front of them got injured. Doug Williams got there because of the quarterback in front of him got injured. So these are the things that happen. You have to be in the right place at the right time to get lucky. John Gruden's in the right place at the right time. He's got lucky with this huge contract.
Yeah.
Now, will his contract pay off? I mean, if you look at the number of head coaches that the Raiders have had in this organization,
a lot
since 1980, Charles.
Yeah.
Okay. They've had a massive turnover of coaches, and they've had really one successful year that they made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and when
since Tom Flores has left.
Flores had 2 Super Bowls, Big C. And you think about this too. When Gannon was quarterbacking the Oakland Raiders, he didn't walk in there and build anything. They had Tim Brown, a Hall of Fame wide receiver. They also had Jerry Rice, a Hall of Fame wide receiver. They had Tyrone Wheatley in the backfield, Wheatley came out of Michigan. He was a strong running back. They already had a great offensive lineman. They had a lot of pieces in place. A lot of people think the Raiders have a lot of pieces in place too, but there's something they're lacking there. And that, number one, I think is trust. People talk about chemistry. I think more than lack of chemistry for the Raiders, I think it's trust. If you don't trust the people you're working for, how do you give them your heart and soul? And I know the great Al Davis did a lot of things for the NFL, Big C, helping with the merger and everything else. But his son, they just don't have a trust, and you don't play hard for people you don't trust. So no matter who they bring in, Big C, even Al Davis and John Gruden, I remember in the locker room with the Raiders after they lost to Kansas City, and I remember talking to the former GM of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I asked him what was his relationship like with Al Davis, and he said, I don't have one. And Al Davis never got along with John Gruden. It's not as if he won everywhere he went. I would expect him to have a better winning percentage record and not being fired out of his last 2 jobs to be worth $100 million, Big C, if that makes any sense. Your thoughts?
Well, Chelsea, when you look at how the Raiders organization has been run, it's not been run like the Steelers organization and the Rooney family.
No.
That's been the model of convention in the NFL because the consistency that they have possessed as far as the loyalty to their head coach, to their players, Charlton, keeping that organization sound, keeping it out of the media spotlight. They buffered everything around. They have a code of conduct for their players that they must operate under. And those players adhere to. That rebel mentality of the Raiders, that was something from the 70s
that's
and
over.
80s, okay?
That's over,
That went away. The era of the players, they could party with the twos. And
cruising with the twos.
When you used to win all the stickum that they had in the hands, but they could off and left their hands.
They still got stickum at the Coliseum. Like bubblegum, they got stickum they find on some of the seats in the locker room, Big C.
That era of players, Hunter, of intimidation, where I could bring in all the misfits from around the league. The only team that's built that way now is the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick can bring in the misfits from around the league and make champions out of them, just like Al Davis did. There's only 2 men that have been able to utilize that formula. And one is gone and one is still with us. So as you think that you're his son and that you can emulate what your dad did, all you did was watch your dad. You didn't learn from your dad, you just watched your dad. Because you were too busy enjoying your dad's money and sit back learning. And you inherited the team by default, Charlton. That's all that was. That was the default, de facto win. He had no other choice other than take over the team, other than let his sister do it. He wasn't going to do that. So, this is a scenario where a guy really is not totally knowledgeable of what the game entails. Just because you grew up somewhere doesn't mean that you're good at it. I mean, you look at all the athletes around who have offspring, who have children. And look at the non-success ratio of all these athletes who have children. There's 1 out of 100 every now and then that will become successful. But they generally don't because they're too busy enjoying what their dad has done.
Paris Hilton.
What he likes.
Paris Hilton has been well maligned for that story. But you just brought up, okay, we know the Oakland Raiders are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to Vegas. Number one, they'll save money in taxes. Number 2, they're giving someone's giving them $2 billion. It's hard not to go. But I want to throw you right across to the East Coast where it's freezing cold right now up in the great Northeast in Boston. There's some stories, and it's probably just gossip, like the TMZ gossip or some of the gossip you have in those newsstands. When you go to the grocery store, they have those magazines. Sometimes that gossip stuff is real when I realize it. Oh, National Enquirer. Sometimes the National Enquirer, that stuff is actually real, Big C. But when Belichick, they've been at for 18 years, he and then Brady, and then the ownership there in Kraft. And there's a little bit of controversy coming out that Belichick and Brady really don't get along, that Brady's more of a kind of I guess an isolated individual. He's into drinking drinking some type of carrot juice with broccoli and peas mixed into it, something like that, Big Z. And, Belichick doesn't really talk much. He's just about the facts. What are the facts? I want to ask you a stupid question. If anyone looks at the sports universe and looks at the coaching out there and the success that Belichick has had, can anyone tell me why John Gruden would be paid more money than Coach Belichick when he has nothing near the same resume? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the reason why he will be paid more money than Belichick is because it's about marketing, Charles. It's not about the guy who's going to ever exceed what Bill Belichick has done. It's like the gossip that's coming out of New England right now. Everybody's saying, well, there's an animosity between Kraft, Belichick, and Brady.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why Jimmy Garoppolo was let go, Charles, is that they would have had to franchise him. Okay,
yep.
He wasn't going to sign a long-term contract with the Patriots.
Yeah.
If they had a franchise, he's got more money than your cousin, okay?
He's not my cousin. Hey, maybe he is my cousin. Maybe I should start listening to the hint, Big C. Sometimes cousins will bequeath some money to their relatives, Big C. Your thoughts?
He would have gotten in the neighborhood of $30 million, Charles.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
They would have had to franchise him. They would have had to give him in the neighborhood of $30 million. So people keep saying, well, why did New England let Jimmy Garoppolo go and not let Tom Brady go? Because Tom Brady hasn't stopped winning yet, okay? Jimmy Garoppolo has won 7 games as a starter in the NFL. Go back and look how many quarterbacks have won 7 games over 4 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot.
Of them, Charles.
And yeah.
The body of work that Tom Brady has brought, not only experience, leadership, and understanding, is what Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't possess yet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he won't get there, but yet he does not have, Tom Brady's resume.
No,
and that's
not at all.
something that's hard to throw away. So when you hear all these people start talking about there's animosity, Tom Brady's making less than $15 million this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's his salary, less than $15 million. And you say, if we keep Jimmy Garoppolo, we got to pay him twice as much as Tom Brady. Now, who's been the genius for the last 15 years in keeping this team together and keeping Tom Brady happy?
Yeah.
Tom Brady is constantly taking paychecks for this very reason, Charlton, because he enjoys winning.
Yeah.
Well, other quarterbacks around the NFL are enjoying making all the money they can right now.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is like, I've played this game for almost 20 years.
Yep.
I pocketed, $200 million or more, $500 million
Yeah.
for playing this game, through endorsements and playing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go broke anytime soon.
No.
But one of the things I have that nobody else has is that I have 5 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
Also have 2 AFC championship rings. So I have total 7 rings. I'm trying to fill up both of my hands with rings.
He's trying to be like Bill Russell.
Now, the rest of you best around there that keep,
Yes.
in the media that keep talking about this animosity and friction.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything to talk about in your job. You don't know how to build a story from something that's consistent about a winner.
Yeah.
You've talked about all you can talk that's good about the Patriots.
Yep.
Now I have to bring some fiction into it. I got to give some fake news about what's going on because I'm sitting in the damn office with Belichick, Kraft, and Brady.
Big
so
C,
I know what's going on.
Big C,
But,
no,
they want to win.
Yeah. No, you didn't just pull a Donald Trump and call it fake news, Big C. Come on. I know the South hangs together, but fake news, Big C. I want to ask you a question. When Bill Russell and Tom Brady walk into a restaurant in Boston, you know how you go into a restaurant and they always ask if they can take your jacket and put it at some place. What do they do when they say, where can we put your rings? Do you guys want us to put your rings someplace while you go to boys eat? You think they would trust somebody?
You put Bill Russell and Brady together, Charles.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're talking about, what, 19? 19 rings between the two. Actually, more than that.
More than that.
Because you got to bring in Bill Russell's 2 NCAA championships.
Yeah.
Rings, okay?
Yeah.
So he's got 13 rings. Bill Russell and a Olympic gold medal. So he has 14 pieces of hardware.
Yeah.
That cannot be duplicated. Bill Russell has 14 pieces of hardware that cannot be duplicated.
Remember that? Yeah. That's funny. Remember when they had the commercial in the NBA and Dr. J was getting dressed and he had the good-looking suit, he had the good-looking tie, and he was putting on his cufflinks and all that. And then he wasn't complete until he put his championship ring on his finger, Big C. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. You can call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, I do want to see the commercial where they'll have Tom Brady and they'll have Bill Russell walking into a restaurant in Boston, maybe a Faneuil Hall over there where they have some restaurants out there. And I want to see someone ask, you know how they park the car when they valet park the car? I want to see if some good old boys are going to come up with, how can we put your rings on the hole while you good old boys eat bean soup and all that good old boy stuff. Big C, I want to touch on a few things with your thoughts on the playoffs. I know that you look at the Rams and you look at the Falcons, and to me, that's must-see TV. And that game's going to be out here on the weekend and Saturday in Los Angeles. The Rams are actually favored by 6, and the over-under is 48. I think the over-under is too low for those two teams. The over-under should probably be in the 60s. Both teams, I know the Rams, they can give up points. They give up points against Philadelphia. I think the Rams have a better defense than Atlanta. But both teams can get 30 points in this game. I want to ask you your thoughts on who has the advantage, the team that's been there before, or the new kids that don't know if they have anything to lose or not. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Atlanta's been playing from behind all year long, Charlton, and eventually you get tired of doing that.
Yeah.
But when you look at the teams that they've played of late, they haven't played anybody with the offensive firepower that the Rams had.
Yeah.
Or a defense that's as stout as the Rams. Yes, the Rams faltered late in the season, lost a couple games that they should have won. Matter of fact, the last game of the season, they didn't play many starters.
Yeah.
But this is a Falcon team that's going out now playing in an outdoor environment on natural grass, Charlton, where they so often that they've played on turf. And when you look at games that they've been challenged, Charlton, it's on grass. They've lost in Carolina on grass. They've lost to Tampa Bay on grass, Charlton.
Yep.
This is a team that hasn't always blown well on grass. So they're going to have some problems going out to L.A., and then who knows, you may get a little moisture on the grass. You guys might get lucky and get some rain out there.
Yeah. That'd be lucky to get some rain with it freezing on the East Coast,
This is a scenario where everybody would favor the Falcons because of playoff experience.
Yeah.
This is an embattled team that lost the Super Bowl last year that they could have easily won if the quarterback hadn't been selfish. It comes down to what his mentality is in this game, Charlton. Is he going to be a team player, or is he going to be a meat guy?
Yeah.
I don't trust Sarkisian and his play calling because I haven't seen a game yet with the Falcons this year, Charlton, where Julio Jones has been targeted over 10 times.
Do they know he's on the team? do they know they got Julio Jones? Is he still out looking for his earring, or do they actually know they have him on the team, Big C? Your thoughts?
He's had one great game this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
One great game.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Falcons defense, they have given up points to everybody.
Yeah.
They were very fortunate to win a night game against the New Orleans Saints with an interception late in the game when the Saints were down inside the red zone.
Yeah.
So this is a situation with a team that, they're not solidified on defense. Offense is wishy-washy, depends on the emotion of the quarterback.
Yeah.
But the Rams, I think, they're going to go out and try to have fun. You got a young coach, young quarterback, young running back. You got a fired-up defense. You got a tremendous receiving corps.
Yeah.
Both of this is probably the best set of receivers you'll see in any single game in the NFL this year when you look at the Rams and the Falcons receiving corps.
Yeah. And you think
but
about...
I think the one thing with Jared Goff is that he's young and he's not nervous right now because he went through all the hell you could go through as a rookie.
Yeah.
Everything negative that could be said about Jared Goff was said about him last year.
Yeah.
So he came out and said, look, I'm just going to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. I think he took a shot of moonshine.
Yeah. Big C, a little cultural change. In California, we drink wine. Okay, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but some of them good old boys think that wine is better than moonshine. They really haven't had the chance to sip on some of that shine, but that's some good old powerful stuff down there. I think one thing that may help the Rams, they're playing it's a late start, it's a 5:15 start on NBC Sports, and the crowds show up better in L.A. in the nighttime. I don't know what it is about that city. It's always busy. There's always traffic. If you've ever been on the highways, it's hard to get around, but it's not, highways full of traffic. So people known as a late arriving crowd in L.A., you've seen a lot of that with the Lakers. I don't know if it's going to be a late arriving crowd, but people like to go out in the evenings in L.A., and I think that might help them a little bit.
Didn't we just go through that in a college game last weekend?
Yeah.
Where they had a kickoff that I believe was somewhere around 8:30 Eastern time.
Yeah.
Okay? Isn't that the same thing with having a 5:30 kickoff
Yep.
in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
That's bringing you into an 8:30 Eastern time kickoff team.
Yeah.
Kickoff of the game. So we're talking about a team approaching midnight.
Yeah.
In their time zone and having to still be playing football.
Yeah, that's a good point, Big C. Yeah.
That would be a tough scenario when you look at the Falcons. Really, they have some lag in the second half after sitting around all that game.
Yeah, that's a good point, Big C. So we'll see the Rams and the Falcons at the marquee game on the weekend for the NFL. I want to take you to the Midwest. We're going to have Tennessee, which have to fight until the last weekend, Big C, to get into the playoffs. They're at Kansas City, which should be, it sounds like they found their mojo. That's a 4:35 kickoff on ESPN, on ABC Sports and ESPN, depending on what network you have there. And you know that the Chiefs have a hard time getting out of that first round. And sometimes you look at all the success that Andy Reid has had and Alex Smith. They've had a lot of success. And I know they have the great running game with Hunt. They had Kelsey catching the football. And there's something about Mariota. He can't just be a one-man show with Mariota. I think they're hobbled also. They don't have all their players fully healthy. Give me your thoughts on the opportunity that Tennessee has, knowing that if you're going to beat Kansas City, you have your best chance of beating them in Week 1 in the playoffs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton Murray's not going to play in this game.
Yeah.
The receiving core of Tennessee hasn't been consistent. You got to take away Delaney Walker in this game, Charlton.
Yeah.
Mariota has to be more patient throwing the ball. He can't be quick to leave the pocket.
Yeah.
He's going to have to let his routes develop. It's going to be cold in Kansas City, although it's been cold in Tennessee also.
Yeah.
So these are two teams that are, used to cold weather right now.
Yeah.
But the big X factor in Kansas City is playing in front of that crowd, which could be one of the loudest
it's
crowds
loud.
in the NFL at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
Alex Smith, I think this is Alex Smith's moment. If he's going to stay a Kansas City Chief, this is his moment, Charleston, because if he doesn't get this team out of this first round of the playoffs, he won't be around to finish out that contract that he has there. When you think about Kansas City, they have some players that can make big plays offensively.
Yeah.
But, how is that secondary going to hold up?
Yep.
That's a big key. Is it going to be a slow, slippery track in Kansas City? Will they be able to keep that field unthawed? The Chiefs' defense hasn't been what we thought they would be since they lost Eric Berry this year.
Yeah.
And also the linebacker. So this is a team that, like I said, they're playing for their lives, not their playoff lives. They're playing for their Kansas City lives this week.
Yeah, Big C. The final few segments here. Sunday, Buffalo at Jacksonville. Buffalo ends a 17-year drought, and they couldn't have picked a better time to get out of Buffalo with all the snow they're having there in the great Northeast. And then they're driving, I don't know if they're going to drive, but they're going to fly down to Jacksonville. You told me Alabama and Georgia are driving the bus, so I thought that maybe they tried to save some money too in Buffalo, but they're going to fly down to Jacksonville. They're already there. A 1:05 kickoff on CBS Sports. Your thoughts on Jacksonville finishing slow, Big C, and then the Bills finishing strong in the regular season. Your thoughts on who has the advantage in this game?
Well, Jacksonville was somewhat hobbled because their running backs were hurt, Charlton. This was a team when Doug Marrone started the season said, I don't want my quarterback to throw the ball at all.
Yeah.
Let's just run the running backs into the ground. And that led to success early in the season. But, running those running backs so often, they got dinged up.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you had to flip back to Bortles.
Yeah.
And that's when the trouble started when you turn them offense back over to Bortles full time and you didn't have the running game.
Yeah.
He's quick to throw an interception. Sometimes I don't know if he's colorblind or not, but he'll find it come back on the phone.
He likes to do that to keep it tough, Big Z. Go right ahead.
So, this is a team that defense was great early in the year, Charlton. They've been exploited, and I think this is what's going to be seen on film. That people will look at their last 3 games and see how that defense has been exploited.
Yeah.
And without the running game being as solid for them, I don't give Jacksonville the total opportunity to beat Buffalo. I think Tyrod Taylor will create a lot of problems getting out on the edge, not allowing that defense to just come straight upfield. And that's going to create gaps, especially with that toss pass back underneath to the running back or the tight end coming in there, a little flip pass.
Yeah.
Not only that, setting up screen plays, Charles.
No, he's very good with that, Big C. And again, the point spread in that one, Jacksonville's favored by 8, the over-under 39. In the Kansas City game, they're favored by 8, the over-under is 44. I want to take you to a game that means so much in the South. In the NFC South, you have the great quarterbacks, Hall of Fame type quarterbacks, all pro caliber quarterbacks, Both guys have been to Super Bowls, and both guys can throw the ball, even though Newton's more of a running quarterback than he is passing only. And I look at New Orleans, they're favored by 6 against Carolina. And, it's tough to beat anyone in the Dome. And Carolina's, they've lost twice this year to New Orleans. How do you beat a team 3 times in 1 year? We'll find out Sunday. But I want to get your thoughts. Who has the advantage? People would think it's going to be New Orleans at home. Big C, do you agree with that? Your thoughts?
I like New Orleans' chances, Charlton, because when I look at Carolina, who does Cam Newton have other than Cam Newton? McCaffrey's been a decent player this year, but now he's into that zone that he hasn't been in before, Charlton. He's in the playoffs. He's into that 19th game of the season.
Yep.
With the preseason games that he plays. And so, where's his body at? Versus his mental capacity right now. Rookies have a tendency to tire at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, who's his receivers?
Yeah.
You got Devin Funches, a former tight end at Michigan. Greg Olsen's been mixed up even since he came back off the foot injury.
Yeah.
But you don't know who else is the wide receivers on that team. Cam Newton has to carry the load in this game, Charlton. Cam Newton has to put up over 250 yards in the air and at least another 60 to 70 on the ground if Carolina is to win this game.
Yeah.
But I think that New Orleans will keep a spy in against Cam, knowing that Cam is the running game for Carolina. Drew Brees has a good young receiving core, and his running backs have been outstanding. Everybody is healthy, and that defense has played a lot better than what anybody expected this year in New Orleans. Yeah.
Now, they look very strong in BC. I want to get one more thought before we head for the beautiful weekend, and I know we'll preview the national championship game, on that Monday when it's happening. But I want to get your thoughts real quick. What's the feel down south with, everybody's going to Atlanta for the national championship game? Just give me your thoughts in about a minute or so. The feeling between Georgia and Alabama with all the talk in the SEC. Who's getting the feel of having the advantage going into that game, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, a lot of people are giving Georgia the home field advantage playing in this game.
Oh, really?
I realized just a month ago, they beat Auburn in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so they have that feel of being at home. I mean, when you think about it, that stadium from their campus is about 160 miles.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not that far from their campus. So this is technically a home game for them. They're just not playing between the hinges down at Jordan-Hare.
Yeah.
Not Jordan-Hare, but down at the Bulldog Stadium.
Yeah.
So this is the team, but Alabama, they have a legacy that they want to cement. They haven't won a national championship in a couple of years, so they're a little sour coming into this game. They got a lot of injuries. When you think about their linebacking core alone, Charlton, just with their linebackers alone, they have missed 37 starts this year with their linebacking core.
That's a lot.
So that's a weak spot for them. And you think about how dominant that Georgia was against Oklahoma and running the football for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So this is something that's going to be very challenging for the University of Alabama. Now, Nick Saban in 11 tries has never lost to an assistant coach.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
That's the one advantage that he has.
Yeah.
But Kirby Smart will spend so much time with Nick Saban and beat some of those former assistant coaches, that can Nick Saban finally lose one to a suit?
Well, Big C, that's something we all are looking forward to. A great weekend of football coming up. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, we finally got into the weekend that everybody has looked forward to from the beginning of the football season. This is the crescendo.
Yeah.
We got the end of the college football season ending on Monday night. We got the NFL playoffs starting on Saturday and Sunday, Charlton, getting to that road to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
This is where football, every game means something, Charlton.
Well, I tell you, it always means something. You can find out every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, please call 911. No woman should ever have to go through that garbage all on her own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.